Hi there and big welcome to a cEDH gameplay video. Now this time we had some technical difficulties and because of that we're doing a narrated version. So there's no hands revealed and no player thought process. Instead you're just going to see the match narrated by me. The starting player is Pontus on his Tymna and Dargo build. You've seen this many times. Big goal is to use Dargo to basically generate a bunch of potential mana by casting him really cheap and then fuel Dargo into something like a burnt offering for a lot of mana. Next up is the Cocaine Bear, which is something of a more of a casual build, you could say. When there's entered the battlefield, you will mill 4 cards and then put all lands in your graveyard directly into play. So it's a very big land archetype deck, you could say. Me, I'm playing Malcolm Kediss. It's been a while since I actually saw this in action, so I thought, why not? The big plan is to use something like Linthorn Buccaneer to win the match, or make Reckless Fire Weaver into a pirate and then win the game. And last in turn order is Frillo playing Blue Farm Tymna Kraum. This is a build that is focused heavily on things like Ad Nauseam, Bola Citadel, Underworld Breach, Necropotence, or just a clean Fastest Oracle victory. And with that, let's start the match. Tymna Dargo plays his Scrubland. Use the Scrubland to cast a Soul Ring, and then use the Soul Ring to cast a Talisman, and then he passes the turn. The big mono-green bear plays a Misty Rainforest and sacrifices it for a basic forest and passes the turn. Malcolm Kediss plays a Volcanic Island and uses it to cast a Soul Ring, and use that Soul Ring to cast a Vexing Bubble, and then passes the turn. Tymna Kraum plays a City of Brass, and then passes the turn. Tymna Dargo taps 2 to cast a Grim Monolith, floats 2 mana to cast a Tainted Pact, starts digging through the deck, exiles a Necropotence but keeps going, ignoring the Potence. Ultimately stops at Delny Streetwise Lookout and decides to keep that one from the Tainted Pact dig. And with the 2 remaining floating colorless mana, casts Delny taking a damage from the Talisman and then passes the turn. The bear plays a basic forest and casts a Green Sun Zenith, searches the library, finds a Sylvan Safekeeper and then passes the turn. Malcolm Kediss plays an island and makes Malcolm Kenai Navigator enter the battlefield and then passes the turn. Blue Farm draws a card. This doesn't hit a land, mulligan a little bit too deep and passes the turn to Tymna Dargo, who draws a card and plays a Verdant Catacombs. Now when you have Delny in play, Tymna is quite good, so casting Tymna and then goes to combat, or sometimes also called Fun Bat. He attacks with Delny, dealing 2 damage to Blue Farm. Now because of Tymna and Delny together, it's like double Tymnas, so he pays 2 life and draws 2 cards, and then casts an Imperial Seal, losing another 2 set of life. After placing a card on top, the turn is paused. The bear plays Cavern of Souls and names Bear. Kediss Malcolm plays Cascading Bluffs as a land drop and casts Kediss. After this, going to combat with Malcolm, dealing 2 damage to Tymna Dargo, but because of Kediss, everyone takes 2, and Kediss Malcolm generates 3 treasures and passes the turn. Blue Farm plays pre-game effect Gemstone Caverns and passes the turn. Tymna Dargo casts Orcish Bowmaster. With a Delny in play, it's gonna be like double Bowmaster. So currently you could say that he has 2 Bowmasters and 2 Tymnas. But Malcolm Kediss counterspells it, giving a bird to Tymna Dargo instead, sending the Orcish Bowmaster to the graveyard. He goes to combat, sends Delny at William and Tymna at Malcolm Kediss. So Blue Farm takes 2 from Delny and Kediss Malcolm takes 2 from Tymna. Now because of this, he's going to pay 2 life, draw 2, and then pay 2 life, draw 2 again, drawing a total of 4 cards, losing 4 life. He shocks into play a Sacred Foundry as a land drop, losing 2 life. Then he casts Reanimate, targeting his Orcish Bowmaster. But in response, Malcolm Kediss Narset's Reversal the Reanimate. Now how this is going to work is that Reanimate can target any creature in any graveyard. If Narset's Reversal resolves, we will cast Reanimate, taking the Orcish Bowmaster, so that Orcish Bowmaster can't be reanimated again. Now Orcish Bowmaster then being on Kediss Malcolm's board state. However, Tymna Dargo used Red Elemental Blast to stop Narset's Reversal, ultimately gaining the Orcish of Bowmasters. That enters and makes 2 triggers, killing Malcolm and generating an army that is a 2/2 currently. The turn is paused, but Tymna Kraum wanna fuel the graveyard and cast a Brain Freeze targeting himself. Storm is currently at 6, so he's going to have 7 Brain Freeze on the stack, meaning he's going to mill 21. Among the cards he mills is a Underworld Breach. Everyone was speculating that he might have Underworld Breach in his hand, and on his turn he would cast the Underworld Breach. Vexing Bubble would make it really tricky for him though, but apparently Breach wasn't in his hand, it goes to the grave. And then he sends all the 21 cards that he milled into the graveyard. And then the turn is finally sent to the mono-green bear. He taps 2 mana and then plays a Lotus Field and sacrifice the 2 lands that he tapped for mana. And then with the 2 floating mana and Cavern of Souls he casts 6 and passes the turn to Kediss Malcolm. Kediss Malcolm plays Command Tower, attacks William, the blue farm Tymna Kraum player, with Kediss, dealing 1 damage, and because of how Kediss works, everyone takes a damage. And then Malcolm Kediss passes the turn. Tymna Kraum plays a Scrubland, which is enough to cast Sevin's Reclamation to reanimate the Underworld Breach, but still there's a Vexing Bubble in play, so that wouldn't really work yet. Instead, he's casting a Lofo Corrupted Sheriff and passes the turn. It is currently Tymna Dargo's turn 5. He goes to combat first thing first, sending Orcish Bowmaster at Malcolm Kediss, the bird that is flying on Tymna Kraum, and Tymna at Malcolm Kediss as well. So Malcolm Kediss takes 3 and Tymna Dargo takes 2. This is gonna trigger Tymna, and she's gonna pay 2 life, draw 2 cards, then trigger again, pay 2 life, draw 2 more cards. Totally losing 4 life, drawing 4 cards. He plays a Plato and uses that, together with some mana, to cast Impulsive Pilferer. He then casts Infernal Plunge, sacrificing the Pilferer, which, together with Delny, is gonna trigger extra, generating a total of 2 treasures and 3 red mana. He's sacrificing 1 treasure and Grim Monolith to cast a Dargo the Shipwrecker. Obnixilis the Adversary, sacrificing Dargo to it. This means that he will generate a token with 7 loyalty. He's gonna use the token's ultimate -7, target player draws 7 cards and loses 7 life. Now he was actually speculating on doing this before combat, to target an opponent to draw 7 cards, triggering Orcish Bowmaster heavily, growing the army and potentially kill 1 player. But he decided not to because he'd rather draw the 7 cards himself. After drawing 7 cards he cast Soul Partition, targeting Vexian Bubble, but Mons, the Kediss Malcolm player, sacrificed it in response, drawing a card. Because Malcolm Kediss drew a card, there are 2 Orcish Bowmaster triggers, killing the Sylvan Safekeeper and Lofo. He casts a Mox Amber, a Mox Opal, and a Mox Diamond now that Vexing Bubble is gone. He's encoring the Impulsive Pilferer, making more extra tokens of them. He's sacrificing all 3 of them into casting Dargo. This is going to generate a total of 6 treasures because of Delny. He then casts Magda Brazen Outlaw. He sacrificed 5 treasures to activate Magda to find the Bolas Citadel. He will pay 3 life to cast a Sevin's Reclamation. He's actually targeting his Verdant Catacomb. The reason for doing this is because he's already played a land, and with a fetch land at the ready he can shuffle his library to sculpt the Bolas Citadel a little bit better. He cast Ragavan from the top of his library, paying 1 life. He then cast Diabolic Intent, sacrificing Ragavan. But Malcolm Kediss responds with a Swan Song, giving Tymna Dargo Double Bird, the second bird token. But Tymna Dargo responds with a Deflecting Swat, stopping the Swan Song, denying the Double Bird. Diabolic Intent ultimately resolves. He then casts a Vampiric Tutor, puts an Underworld Breach on top of his library and casts it, paying 2 life. After that he pays 2 life to cast a Demonic Tutor from the top of his library. Pretty lucky. But at this point he's been digging so much that yeah, eventually he's gonna run into his cards anyways. He finds and casts a Lion's Eye Diamond. He sacrifices his Lion's Eye Diamond, discarding Grinding Station, Wheel of Fortune, Lofo, Command Tower, and a fetch land. 5 cards goes to his graveyard. He casts a Dark Ritual from the top of his library, gaining 3 more black mana, losing 1 life. Then he casts a Rakdos the Muscle from the top of his library, losing 5 life, going down to a stable of 3 life remaining. Then, with the power of Underworld Breach, he casts or escapes a Demonic Tutor, finding and casting Altar of Dementia. Now what he can do is sacrifice his Dargo to mill 7 cards, which is gonna fuel his graveyard. With this, he increases sacrificed count, and with Lionseye Diamond in the graveyard, he can gain red mana to recast Dargo and basically mill himself entirely. Eventually, he's going to mill Birgi, God of Storytelling, and with this, whenever he's basically casting Dargo with Altar of Dementia, he's generating a red mana, which means that he can go net ±0 and infinitely cast Dargo and infinitely mill. But because of his sacrificing, Rakdos the Muscle will also trigger infinitely, and from this point he can basically exile all opponents' libraries. From this point he can win with anything, like an opponent's Thassa's Oracle from Blue Farm, for example. Or he is just passing turn and letting when everyone dies from having no library. And in any case, Tymna Dargo wins!